Alright, good evening everyone, and look what we have here. That's exactly it. We have brand new seats to go in the C6 Vet. So these are from Braum. Got, of course, the driver and the passenger side. Here are the two seat brackets, and I got all the hardware, including the airbag eliminator sensors. But to get ready for the install. So without further ado, let me go ahead and take the package off here and show you what these seats look like to replace my old tired seats that I have in there. So there you are. These are Braum Elite. I don't know what they're called, but I know they're Elite seats with their diamond stitch. You can see here in the center, going down through all the seat, all the way on the bottom. I know here being them inside the house doesn't do them justice, but they're going to look a lot better once I actually get them in a car. But yeah, they're all black. Here in the stitching is actually a light gray. Yeah, so the first thing I'm going to do for installing these is I'm going to go ahead and install the sliders. So I'm going to do the sliders for both of them tonight. Then tomorrow I'll start with the passenger seat and then get to work on that. So let's go ahead and install these sliders real quick. Okay, so here on the bottom of the seats, I already see that there are bolts that are already in here that I wasn't expecting. So I'm gonna go ahead and remove these, and I believe these will be the actual spots for where the sliders will actually mount to these seats. So there's a total of 4 of them. I'm gonna go ahead and remove them real quick. They're like barely in there, almost like hand tightened. Then I'll try to mount the bracket and go from there. Okay, so we got the first seat bracket slider bar on. So you kind of got to put one in like partially, and then you struggle to put the other one in there. It feels like it's getting cross thread, but it's just really hard and tight. One way you can probably make it easier is, if you wanted to, is make these holes just a little bit bigger, like drill them out just a little bit bigger, and it gives you a little bit more wiggle room with the bracket. Then after that, you just kind of slide these on here. You just stick the bar in its 2 pins, and then you got to squeeze this other one in, and it's pretty simple. So as of right now, when you push up on it, as you can see, it operates the mechanism so that it can slide forward and back. But it wasn't really that hard, just didn't want to cross thread and then everything will be ruined. So just gonna do the other seat real quick, and that's gonna be it for right now. So let me go and knock the other one out. So as you can see here, just a continuation. So what I'm using on this one, I'm using not the first 2 holes that are open, but the very last one is what works for this seat, and then it'll be like the only one up there to actually have them line up. So so as you can see here as well, got the Allen head right there, followed by the bracket, and in between it right there, you can see there's the washer. So that's how mine's lined up.
Goes into that conduit.
So the second one went a lot smoother and faster than the first one, as always. So the last part you want to do is take this little bar. As you can see, there are, let's see if I can get it. There are 2 holes on the side. Just line them up right here onto these little gold slits right there. It's hard to do holding the camera. Okay, so you got to kind of force them on there a little hard. Anyway, it's hard to do with one hand. So you kind of got it on there, got it on the first one, and then you got to like squeeze it in and put it on the second one. That's how they stay on, just by sheer force, the elasticity of it. So let me go and put that on real quick. Okay, so the next step is I'm going to mount the seats to the actual brackets. As you can see, as you look here, these are meant for a C6 or C7, and this is the passenger side. And it didn't come with any instructions, but I'm assuming that when you sit here and you look at it, it's on a slant. Here, let me get my camera redone. Okay, as you can see here, it's on a slant, and it's slanting backwards. So I'm assuming that this little sign is facing forward, because as you know, when you sit in a seat, they're kind of like elevated backwards so that you sink into the seat and not forward so you slide out of it. So that's why I envision the way the seat goes. So I don't know how they mount. I do have a bunch of bolts that came with it, and it should be pretty self-explanatory, just like anything else, that there's 4 bolts that mount to the seat and mount to the bracket, and the bracket just mounts on the car. So let's try to figure that out right now. Alright everyone, so I was trying to get the bracket on and I ran into a bunch of issues. Basically the holes wouldn't line up. So what you have here on the right, as you can see, it's a smooth bottom. That's wrong. And as you can see over on this side, you have the other, basically flipped upside down. That's the correct way. Also you can notice that the prongs are towards the rear instead of towards the front. So here on the left, that's the correct way, and the bracket holes actually line up. So now I can go ahead and put the bracket on there, then I'll fix that one tomorrow. So that's exactly what's right, is that you want to have the smooth part towards the actual chair, the not smooth part that's actually, you can see the inside of the other one. You wouldn't have that on the outside, on the bracket. Then you want to actually have these facing forward with the 2 prongs towards close to the back. Found that from another guy's video, and I discovered after I was having issues the brackets not lining up, that's what was going on. So let's go ahead, and what I gotta do next is slide the brackets all the way back. Then the sliders all the way back, then I can install the bracket. Alright everyone, so here we are, day 2, and we've run into a little bit of an issue. So basically, when you order these brackets, I know I got the saw out, so you know bad things about to happen. When you order these brackets, you get to choose the option on what side you want the seat belt mounts to go. So I just did both of them because it was a default, and I was like, I'll figure it out later. Well, unfortunately, I'm at that point where I have to figure it out. So since these seats are reclining, it has all this hardware right here, which means it's interfering with the bracket right here on this the passenger seat on the right side. So basically what I need to do is cut this mount all the way off, or as low as possible I can get. So right now I'm working on the driver's side just to see if my saw is good, and then I gotta take it off from here and then start the cut. So yeah, that's where I'm at, and I've kind of tested it out. This blade will cut through it. I went and picked it up at Home Depot. So yeah, let's continue the fireworks show. Hope you guys enjoy. So, as you can see, got a nice little cut off here. Wasn't as hard as I thought. This is nice and hot. So now I'm gonna have to remove the seat from right there. Move the bracket from right there. I didn't tie it down all the way, and cut that one off on that side. So that's what I'm doing next. All right, everyone. So I made a huge freaking mistake in my operation here. And I'm not going to be in the business of keeping secrets from you. So this tab right here, I cut the wrong side off the wrong bracket. So for instance, like here is the passenger side bracket unaltered, right? You're supposed to cut off the right one because that's where the seat control is. But I accidentally cut off the right one on the driver's side bracket. Let me see if I get some better light here. So I cut the right off the driver's side. So I put the driver's side bracket on the passenger seat, and you can see it has great clearance now. But the difference is that bracket specifically meant for the passenger side. That one's for the driver's side. This is for the driver's side, sorry, and this is for the passenger side. The only difference I can tell between the two brackets is that the driver's side, the driver's side is just a little bit higher. So what I'm gonna do next, since it's already ready and prepped and go, I'm gonna go ahead and pull the passenger seat out. Put this passenger seat in, hopefully it all fits up and I can use the brackets interchangeably. So before I alter this one, I'm gonna see if this works. Otherwise I gotta buy a new bracket. And that's like, then you can see right here on these tags, $140 for these metal brackets. So that's where we are. So next thing is open up this door, take the roof off, and then get to work on the passenger seat. Okay, so we currently got the roof off. They recommend in some of the instructions and tutorials I've looked at, some of the people online, they recommend disconnecting your battery. The reason being is because you have electronic sensors and attachments for all these seats, and I'll be showing you them later, and you don't want to short anything out in the system. So I went ahead and disconnected the battery. I have 4 bolts. So there's one here. I know this floor is dirty as heck. There's one here. There's another one over there, as you can see right there, and then there's of course 2 in the back. So of course in their infinite wisdom they go between metric and SAE. None of my SAE deep well sockets work, so I was lucky enough to find a 13 millimeter that fits over it. So I'm gonna go ahead and remove these 4 and pull the seat out. That's how simple it is. Disconnect the harnesses. I'm gonna disconnect the wiring harnesses in these 4 bolts, and the seat should come right out. So let's go and get that done. Okay, we got the seat out. It was literally really easy. You just had these 2 connectors that were pretty easy to take off. Next thing is got to disconnect the seat belt here on the side, and then transfer stuff over and clean the bottom. So do that next. Okay, so the first thing I'm going to take off and then transfer over is the seat belt itself. Something seems a little off about it. Like I think there's supposed to be something in here, but maybe not. So I'm gonna take this seat belt off. The reason why I gotta reuse this in its exact entire form is because it's wired and all that stuff. So it's got a really big nut down here. I already have a good socket for it, so I'm gonna go ahead and take that off. You can see it's held on by Loctite, so it's gonna be a little difficult, but yeah, that's the next thing to take off and transfer over. Okay, so right now it's physically off, like mechanically with the nut. Next thing is I gotta disconnect these wires that for it to plug into the actual car. They're just held on by 2 zip ties in 2 different spots. So I'm gonna snip those real quick, and then I'll work on the actual seat belt itself, detaching it from the car. Okay, got it disconnected. I decided just to unplug it instead of, I was originally messing with all the connectors right here, but I guess I can plug those back in. So the next thing is start working on the actual seat belt itself. Okay, it was the same 13 millimeter to take the seat belt actually off. It had a wiring harness attached to it, which I wasn't following, so we'll figure out later if we need to reuse this whole harness or not, but I don't think you do. Probably has to do something with the bladder. So the first thing I'm going to do is I'm going to go and transfer everything over to the passenger seat there, and then I'll work on taking the bladder out of the passenger seat and finishing this one up. So let me transfer that stuff over real quick. Okay, so I got the buckle transferred over. I ended up using one of my bolts for my bolt bin and the same nut from the other one. Went on pretty easy, pretty self-explanatory. So the next thing is to transfer over the actual seatbelt harness. And actually I'm gonna get this seat out the way. So I'm gonna remove the bladder on it, which is located under here on the back side. I kind of looked up directions on how to do it, but as you can see, this little plastic piece right here, that's the bladder. So I need to take it out and roll it up. So basically what this bladder does, and this is part of it too, is a sensor that lets you know if a passenger's sitting on there. So if a passenger of a certain weight is sitting on there, it turns on the airbag so that it can deploy whenever there's an accident. So let me go ahead and take that off real quick. Alright, so looking at the instructions that I got from VetWorks Motorsports, which supplied the seat simulators and electronic components, which you see right here, I'm supposed to remove the entire wiring harness from the actual seat and then using it again, as you can see in these instructions. So the first thing I'm going to do is I'm going to take the whole harness out and then mess with the bladder. Okay, got the whole harness out. Now I've removed these 2 springs that were attached to this weird little old bracket here, and now the next thing is to just work the whole bladder out, which is probably just retained right now by this little plastic stuff. Yeah, that's all I need to take out. Just this little carpet looking thing. Gotta get this green part out, and then I can take the bladder out. So yeah, let's do that. Okay, after you remove a bunch of the layers, this is the bladder that you end up with. So what you need to do for this is roll up really tight so that it simulates someone sitting on it, and you just stuff it under or behind the seat. So that'll be like one quick little thing I'll do. After that, the last thing I need to do is basically, yeah, put this over on that seat and probably the wiring harness as well. So let's go and do that. Okay, so what I did is I reuse the screw that normally goes to hold on the reclining lever action, and I use it to put the seatbelt little strap through it. I'm hoping that's good enough, like as far as like strength wise, but I don't think it's like a critical thing. From what I saw from another guy, what he did is he actually ran the seatbelt through those loops and attached it, but that's not what I'm doing. So the next thing is to get the clean out the bottom, you know, that's filthy in there, and then hook up the seatbelt eliminators and then just install it real quick. Okay, we got the inside vacuumed out a little bit, so next thing is I'm gonna take these wiring harnesses and a bladder, hook them up, and then put the seat in. Well, it's only two connections. The two connections is one for the seat belt over there and one for the actual tensioner. Alright, so let's do it. Alright, so the good news is the seat is in there. I was a little worried because it was a really hard time putting it in there. I wouldn't say it was a tight fit, it was a perfect fit, like it had to be perfectly lined up. But yeah, it's definitely in there, everything's lined up. So let's move on to the driver's side. So I'm about to get to work on the second seat. I don't know if I can really show these off as good as I want to. Oh man, I accidentally closed the door. As good as I want to be able to compare them. But you see, just a little bit. Maybe if I come in from the front. You can sort of see the huge difference definitely in size between the two seats. Not to mention the aesthetic looks. So I'm about to get to work on the second seat. There's no sense in me going through, you know, the whole process of what I do, but I'll show you what the differences are between the passenger and the driver's seat as you put them in there. But yeah, so the first thing I'm gonna do, just as always, I'm gonna get here and I'm start modifying the bracket. After I modify the bracket, go ahead and attach it to the seat. After I attach it to the seat, then I'll go ahead and pull the other one out and start the process. So here we go. Okay, here got the driver's seat side out. I'm going to do the same thing I did for the passenger. I'm going to remove the wiring harness for the seatbelt tensioner and also the seatbelt. Oh, there was no sensor for the seatbelt over there when I just remember when I unplugged it. So yeah, I'm just going to do the one for the seatbelt tensioner, and I think that's all I need to take off for the driver's side, since the rest of it's powered stuff. And I'll show the simulator a little bit later. Sorry about my hand being in the way. So yeah, let's go and take that off real quick. Alright, so the seats are completely installed. And I actually sat in them and tested the buckles and stuff on the driver's side. And they absolutely feel awesome. They feel great. Nice and firm, great bolster. I just can't wait to get out there and drive and actually feel them hold me in when I start to get onto my drives. The last thing I just have to do is actually turn the car and make sure the little seat bag and the airbag and sensor eliminators actually work But other than that, clean them up, test that out, and that'll be it. Hope you guys learned something from this, especially from my mistakes on the brackets, but luckily both of them are interchangeable from opposite sides. So that worked out pretty well. So yeah, if you haven't been to the channel before, thank you for watching. Please like and please subscribe. Hey Maverick.